I want people to walk into this space and submit to the unknown, to indicate that through personal stories, through song, through visual imagery, through the physical embodiment, that when there is a particular kind of image of Blackness that is projected through the media or through whatever sources that people receive, that they might put a question mark on it and say, maybe this is not the whole story. There is something else. There is something more about Blackness and about Black masculinities.
Learning how to think through these ideas, it's kind of complex, and we talk a lot. We try to figure out what we're saying and what we're doing, and that's the sort of thing that I'm already interested in, is figuring out how to sort of like talk through ideas with dance, how dance allows us to ask questions. That feels really important for me.
The process was interesting for me because she asked us a lot of questions about ourselves, our lives, our experiences, perspectives on masculinity, masculinities, perspectives on being Black. And our answers in movement and in word are what helped to shape the work with Cynthia's direction. What has been interesting also about the way the work is set up is that there's some space to continue to do that.
I was talking with Cynthia within months of her really conceiving the piece, and we had a number of really great conversations that we would talk. I'd go back and read, I'd go back and do research, and I also was invited to participate in a number of residencies that this piece was honored to have funded by different sources, which was incredible. And so we spent time in Florida and spent time in Vermont and in New York, really having an intensive time of working on the piece. And for me, it was incredible to be able to have that kind of access to the piece as it was developing and to the performers, because this is such a personal piece. And part of what I saw my job as the costumer in this piece was really listening and responding to what the performers brought to it.
I wanted to make sure that my work complemented and contrasted with the other illustrator, John Jennings, but also complemented the dancers as well. So being in on the process as much as I could, watching the dancers and seeing their movements, their body types, all of these things I took into consideration when making the illustrations. But with that, I was using color choices that I wasn't used to using at the time as well. So it's not just, I'm just going to draw some images and we're going to use them. That's not as interesting to me as actually having a conversation through line and color and some of the other design principles and elements that I'm thinking about.
My part of the process was to receive artwork that came to me from artists John Jennings and Stacey Robinson, and then to take that artwork and interpret it, animate it, add to it, simplify it, but in general find ways to try and bring that work into some context where there was a time-based art. So movement occurring over time, sound occurring over time, lighting and the costumes as a part of the movement occurring over time. How could those images change and ebb and flow? Sometimes get out of the way and let the dancers do what they do best, sometimes moving more into the foreground.
We had this unique situation where we could develop everything at the same time, simultaneously. She would work on some movement, I would be able to insert some music, and then we would develop from there, and we just kept building together. In scoring for this work, you really want to find moments of underscoring the text. Then there's full-out dancing that needs music that will push the momentum forward and drive the dancing. And then there's other parts that are more abstract, that there's areas for sort of more ambient music or more sound collage work, or, so we're drawing upon many different kind of energies to support the work.
These are really gifted artists in their own right. What I did was invited them into the rehearsal process, and then we would talk about what they saw. And they might make a few drawings or show me some projections or let me hear snippets of music. is this in the right direction? Do you think this would work for this section? So we kept kind of a back and forth. And then there were times when I'd say, I would really like an image of this. And they would produce that. So there was a combination of a kind of ebb and flow of bringing ideas, a sharing of information, a directive, a refusal, all of that. So that's why I love collaboration, because the collective is always greater than something I could have done on my own. The way that ideas come together from different perspectives and different disciplines and different approaches to material, it's exciting for me, and I think the work is always the better for it.
I got to rise above. I got to ascend these walls, navigate these minefields. Don't misunderstand. Don't misunderstand. Don't misunderstand me.
One kind of really critical question that I established early on with the folks in Trinidad and decided to continue was, what was their epiphanic moment? What was the moment that somebody told you, you are a boy or you are a man and you are not supposed to behave in these ways? And unfortunately, every single person had that moment. And so we started working from that and used that vocabulary as a way to sort of build something.
There were a lot of threads that were interesting for me. Thinking about Caribbean diaspora, thinking about maleness, that I was interested in exploring. And I think it's continued to change what my association is to those things. As it's now been 2 years and it's expanded and there's been a tour and, things changing in the world.
As I'm growing in my understanding of the work and continue to grow and becoming more and more a part of what was before me and what was built before me, the piece continues to take on new meaning and understanding. We are all walking in a different way, so to close it in this moment really is about closing this moment and not the connectivity, the dialogue, and the importance of the work forward moving.